Hi, Angela.
Hi, John.
So first, how are you doing personally through all of this?
I am hanging in there. Like you, I made the really amazing decision to get a puppy during the time of COVID. So we share that commonality. And
Is that pre-decided, or did that decision come during this time?
well, it had been pre-decided that there would be a puppy in 2020. It was more like a summer puppy. And then I got slowly they they just worked me down. And so I relented.
Yeah, same here, as you know, and we'll introduce Leo and Zoe here when we before we conclude. But you found the
Yes.
puppy a good distraction.
You know what, actually, I will tell you, I had this moment. It's a little bit like having children. I've decided there's never a good time, but I guess working partly from home, this makes it a slightly better time. But I did have this moment where I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Which is a similar, happens after you have children. And I have found that it's kind of nice to, the puppy's always excited to see you. And, just it's a little bit of a nice break from the intensity that surrounds us.
How are you balancing being a mom of puppy and boys and leading Fair Start through all of this?
Well, I think I'm going to need a long vacation when it's all over. But I mean, it's my kids go with their dad half the time, so it makes it a little bit easier. I get a little bit of the mom break. But when they're here, I also have two really energetic boys, and they're a little feral acting. So I'm just trying to roll with it. So,
Yeah.
I'm trying to lots of all the things that you're supposed to do, I'm trying to do, get plenty of sleep, eat well, exercise.
Yeah, I've been doing all those things for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I follow you on Instagram. I've been noticing.
Exercising's gone out the window. So people are very familiar with Fair Start because it's got a great brand in the community, but for the few that aren't, maybe describe the state of Fair Start, 7 weeks ago, and then how you've had to make a pretty dramatic pivot, which has been
Yeah.
pretty impressive as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So our mission at FareStart is that we transform lives and disrupt poverty while nourishing communities, and we do that through food and job training. So for nearly 30 years, FareStart has existed to work with individuals experiencing homelessness and other barriers to employment, like incarceration, addiction, mental illness, both youth and adults. To receive wraparound services and job training to work in the food service and restaurant sector. So prior to this, we were, busy in our restaurants and cafes. We have a pretty robust catering division, but we were also doing a lot of meals, about almost 1 million meals a year to the community, to shelters and schools. And so that as part of our training. So that's really the goal of FareStart, is to help people, give people another chance. Oftentimes it's more than a second chance, but get people back on the road to success and a path going forward that's a sustainable life.
When did you first start to see the impacts to your restaurant business? Because that's such an important part of your revenue, I know. And
Yeah.
you sort of come to terms with, oh boy, we've got a
Mhm.
real challenge here and we've got to pivot.
Yeah, I think it was probably around the, I mean, if you think, I think about early March, and that feels like the early, 19th century at this point, right? Like it seems like it was so long ago. But I think it was somewhere around either the last week of February or very early into that first week of March, things started happening. And really, I think we first maybe noticed it in our catering, because we do a lot of catering downtown, and for the big tech company downtown, and things just started slowing way down there. And then I think it was when a lot of the work from home recommendations started coming that it just really fell off. And I actually remember talking to you, so it must have been I believe it was the first weekend of March, and that's when things were really that's when it really popped off, and we made the decision to shift over to emergency meals, knowing that the writing was on the wall for, catering business and restaurants.
So you, that early, that first weekend, you sort of made that switch of like, okay, we really have to adapt and adjust here because the downtown.
It was interesting. One of the I started thinking, really, I worked my way backwards, right? So my number one commitment was, this is going to be a mess. How do I make sure that we don't lay anyone off? And then I started working backwards, and I was like, okay, well, how are we going to keep the lights on then? And we started, looking at what we were doing with emergency meals, and really thought, if people are going to have to, stay in their homes, and people are going to be in quarantine, and people are going to be getting sick, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to need these community meals that we had been already doing. And actually, one of the first calls I made was over to Paul and the folks at Plymouth Housing to see what they were doing. And we have formed this really cool partnership now, and we're providing meals and seeing a lot of really great positive results that are kind of that have emerged out of this crisis, but that will be exciting to see how a partnership could grow and continue in the future. So I knew, it was really obvious right away that we weren't going to be able to compete with everyone else that was doing takeout. And we were in a neighborhood where there aren't a lot of people living around, in the neighborhood around 7th and Virginia, a lot of office buildings. And really, it was just a decision that we need to go hustle and go find out where the need is, and raise money and do everything that we can to get meals out the door and keep the lights on. And that was just like line in the sand, and we just started moving.
Yeah. So describe the state of FareStart's operations today, and who you're serving and the volume.
Yeah, so we have closed, obviously all of our retail kitchens have closed. Our catering kitchen has been converted into emergency meals. The dining room at 700 Virginia, if you were to walk by, is like stacked with boxes, and it's this big staging area. Our retail kitchen at 700 Virginia, which is what we call the restaurant, has been converted to emergency meals. We have a kitchen at Pack Tower where we were doing a lot of school meals, and when a lot of those closed down, obviously, we've shifted that. So every one of our kitchens is functioning in this emergency meals capacity. We have capacity in our kitchens to do between 10 and 15,000 meals a day. And we have been so lucky to partner in the community with folks like Taylor Wong, who I know we all know and love, and also with the Seahawks, who we all know and love, to utilize their food service and to help us really scale up. And then Mod Pizza is also partnering with us to deliver. One of our first clients that we started working with, and the calls that I was on, I think until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, was King County and their quarantine sites. So Mod is actually working with us to get some pizzas out to some King County shelter sites. We're serving the quarantine sites. We have, I think we're delivering to 72 different locations. We have 26 community partners right now. Everyone from Downtown Emergency Services Center, Plymouth Housing. We were helping out down at Chief Seattle Club for a little while. We're working with YMCA to support their childcare, but also launching with them next week to provide meals at Seattle Housing Authority sites alongside United Way to get meals to those families who are on free and reduced lunch. Yeah,
it's impressive, and you're used to scaling fast from your previous life. Operating.
I move at a really fast pace, so this is actually, like, for me, it feels more comfortable.
So what's been important for you in your own leadership and leading your team through that, a really stressful period, and having to kind of get everybody to go now in this direction? Yeah. How have you led through that?
I think that it's really, so for me, we were in our board call, a couple of weeks ago, and I got really emotional about having to suspend our programs, and our students are such the heart of our organization, but really, like, the thing that makes our heart beat is our staff. And so really making sure that our staff was well cared for, both like in keeping jobs for folks was just like #1 priority out of the gate, knowing that not only was keeping their jobs, but keeping everyone safe and healthy. So for me, that's really like putting staff first has been like, just from a leadership perspective alone, has, I think, just really moved the entire leadership team. And that's everything, making sure that people have the right PPE and that people are also taking time to, set their own boundaries. Working from home can be really intense. And, I know the leadership team alone have, we were logging some crazy 15-hour days for a few weeks in a row. And really now, even today, needing to remind people, like, it's really beautiful outside. Your computer is going to be there when it's dark. Go outside, get some fresh air, really like put some boundaries around the work that you're doing at home, because it's really easy to set up your office and your dining room table, and then you go and you sit down for dinner and all of your office work is right next to you and you're like, oh, well, I guess I should just pick this up again. Yeah. So it's really, like the cliche of self-care is not a cliche. It's actually something that we all really need to do right now. And so for me, it's just really making sure that like I'm encouraging that and making sure that while what we're doing is so important, like the mental health and physical health of the FareStart staff is just critical. So that's really, I've just been bleeding from a place from that.
Yeah, so right. All the lines are blurred right now. And
yeah.
And your point where you all are helping people get food that are in vulnerable positions, but you also got to take care of your own staff in that process to keep them safe and healthy, both mentally and physically. And
yeah,
and a large burden on both ends.
Yeah, yeah.
So how can people help FareStart now? Individuals, other organizations, how can they help and support you and your organization, your team through this period?
Yeah, I'd say there are a few things. If there are companies out there who have products that they could give in kind that might help our efforts, whether that's food, packaging has been a huge need of ours. So any of those in kind, technology, whatever it may be, that is always really helpful. Obviously, we have tremendous financial need right now to get not only meals out, but to ensure the long-term recovery of FareStart. And so we have launched the FareStart COVID Response and Recovery Fund, and that is available at our, that's on our website, more information there. And I know this is such a hard time to be, asking people to, think about making a contribution when so many people have been laid off and lost jobs. And so, I just really am so tremendously grateful for everyone who has been able to give and who can give. It's really such a gift in so many ways. And so those are some preliminary ways to help. If there are any mask makers out there who want to make some FareStart masks, we would love to take those. So those are
for staff or for others? Yeah,
for staff. And then we are looking at ways that we can start bringing volunteers back. So I would just encourage folks who are interested in volunteering to keep an eye on our website and our social media channels, and we'll be communicating that out as well.
That's terrific. Well, should we introduce the puppies?
Oh, yes. Okay, let me go get mine.
Okay, now I'm going to reveal that.
Where's Zoe?
I'm going to go get Zoe, and as I do, I'm going to reveal that I've been wearing shorts during the Zoom call, but this is the first Zoom call I've done.
Hilarious. Okay, I love this. All right, I'll be right back.
Be right back. Oh, here we go.
Oh my gosh. Leo, look.
Zoe, it's Leo and Angela.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Hey, Leo, look.
We're still getting to know each other because like you, I've been busy as well. And so I think I rate it's like garbage man, John, UPS driver in Zoe's world.
Yeah, well, so Leo has grown about, first of all, like the size of the paws, it's going to be enormous.
Growing to do.
And he's really like, right now, he's like, you guys are great, but there's cat food in the closet. He knows it, so he's a little distracted.
Well, these have been good distractions for us, I know, and I appreciate you taking time.
Absolutely.
Your story with me and how you've led FareStart. It's been super inspiring and impressive to see you lead your team and organization, and also to see you been on the front lines, I know, and in the kitchen and making deliveries and
yeah. Well, and you too. I know you've been. This is like a new thing, like a Zoom interview with dogs on laps. I mean, let's do this going forward. This is so great.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for everything you're doing at DSA, and thanks for sharing your dog's pink. I know this pink. Actually, I have to ask a question back, and everyone wants to know, what's your issue with the pink harness?
I'm more of a gray kind of guy.
Yeah.
Neutrals.
Yeah.
But we're getting along. She can wear whatever she wants.
That's right.
Like this. So.
I know. All right. Well, we'll get them together when commingling is allowed.
Yes, it's a deal.
We'll convene. All right. Thanks, John.
Well, Angela.
You too. All right. Bye.